On Hard Talk today, we're talking about the NPP and the NPP's campaign. The Vice Chairman of the Dr. Bawumia Campaign Team is here in the studio, and we're very happy to have him here in the person of Nana Akomea. Of course, he's also in charge of the STC, the State Transport Company. I have to also add that because it's part of his portfolio. Nana, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And how are you doing?
I am doing very, very well by the grace of God.
Well, I like the way you say you are doing very, very well.
Yes.
The
truth is the truth.
What's the secret?
Oh, no, just live simply. Live naturally. Yeah. I believe many of the difficulties that we have is because we don't lead a natural life. A lot of the things that we do are artificial, particularly the food. I believe that God intended for us to have a plant-based food. If you look at our teeth, they are small. I don't think they were made for ripping flesh. We're only able to eat flesh because we discovered fire. We can cook. Before we discovered fire, you couldn't eat flesh. So I believe God intended for our food and nutrition to be largely plant-based. And that's what I try to do.
So a lot
of plants.
Are you a vegetarian?
I would say I'm 80% vegetarian.
80%
Yes.
vegetarian. You don't eat a lot of meat.
No, if a little fish once a while, but largely plant-based. And do your exercises. Nothing beats that. So
Doing the exercises.
Yeah, you do your jogging. You try and get good sleep, and not stress yourself. That's all.
And I bet the campaigning, comes with a lot of exercises because you've been moving up and down.
Yeah.
And how's the campaign been going?
It has been exciting. I'm sure you have some of the footage. But the Bawumia campaign seems to be the only campaign in town. Really? It's all over the place.
The only campaign in town?
Yes. Once a while you hear of GHOne Mahama also doing some whistle.
Once a while?
Yes, some whistle stops. But Bawumia is constant. Every day is one constituency or the other. You don't see that of the others. Once a while you hear of them. But every day, today as we speak, is going to go to 3 constituencies.
Still in the Ashanti region?
Still in the Ashanti region. He never stops. So every day, Bawumia is on the field. And that's why I say that is the only consistent campaign.
So you don't believe that the NDC's campaign, or you don't believe that their campaign is visible? People in the NDC will beg to differ. They would say they are also on the ground.
You would admit,
a lot of work.
If I ask you today
yes,
where GHOne Mahama is, will you be able to tell me? But you know where Bawumia is. Yes.
I mean, it was announced where he was going to. So anywhere the campaign...
It is announced because...
Anywhere the flag bearers are going, they announced
it is announced because he's going there.
We know exactly where they are.
It is announced for you to hear because he's going there.
Yeah.
If it's not going there, it will not be announced. So the fact that you don't hear of the other announcements shows you that it's not as vigorous as the Bawumia's campaign. So it's going very, very well.
Yeah, but we're hearing, GHOne Mahama on campaign platforms, taking... swipes and jabs, certain questions. I mean, he's been busy. He's been campaigning. Very recently, even in the Ashanti region, GHOne Mahama, met with the clergy. Had a breakfast meeting with the clergy and all of that. I think it was at the Great Hall of the KNUST or so.
No, I'm not saying...
He's also been...
I haven't said he is not campaigning. Of course, everybody is campaigning.
Yeah.
But if you want where the campaign is consistent on a daily basis, is Bawumia.
So
if I ask you today where GHOne Mahama is, you can.
Well, last I heard he was in the Ashanti region.
Last you heard, where is he today?
Well,
but
today,
I'm sure
today I can't tell. But the last I heard he was in the Ashanti region.
Anyway, so everybody is campaigning, but ours is going very, very well.
But I've heard folks in the NPP say Dr. Bawumia is, campaigning as though they were in opposition. or as though you were in opposition, like a very vigorous campaign. Why is that?
Because he wants it very badly. He believes that what he has in store is good for the country. And when you want something badly, you believe that your intentions are good and positive and will benefit the country. You chase it vigorously. That's why I'm sure people are saying that he's campaigning so hard. But that's a testimony to the fact that his campaign is the biggest campaign in town. Yeah. It's because he wants it badly, because he knows that what he has for the country must happen.
I mean, so what would you say to someone who says perhaps it's because this government has not performed very well? That's why the extra mile needs to be put forward for the NPP to retain power.
Well, if anybody says
so
that,
you'd have to really get in there.
No, if anybody says that, I don't have a problem with that viewpoint. I mean, viewpoints are viewpoints. I agree that the current economic situation doesn't make the government very popular. We all know that. We could talk about the reasons for the current economic situation all over the world. We can talk about it. But the fact is that to the average voter, the fact that there are some difficulties, they would take it up on the government. You may have your good excuses. You can talk about COVID and all the difficulties it's brought into this country, in the whole world. You can talk about the effect of the Ukraine-Russia war. You can talk about it all you want. But to the average voter, the fact that there are difficulties, he is going to blame the government. So if somebody says that it is because of that Bawumia is so hard on the campaign, I don't have a problem with that viewpoint. It can easily be true. So, but the point of the matter is that he is very hard on the campaign ground, and that can be testified to by everybody.
And I want us to really get into the campaign, but you know, the U.S. presidential elections just ended not too long ago. Donald Trump has been elected. He's president-elect. The second coming of Donald Trump after losing, the last election. And people are drawing some parallels, between the U.S. election and the Ghana election. Do you think that it has any bearing, on Ghana's election?
No, I do not believe it has any bearing. I mean, how can any election have a bearing on another election? Because, you see, this year alone, there have been many elections in many countries. I lie? Even in Africa, there have been elections all over the place. So why are we not relating to those elections, which are in Africa and closer to us? In America, what is the link between Ghana and America? These are two different countries, two different economies, two different people. There is no relationship at all. In fact, an election in Nigeria may have, because we are basically in the same economic zone, we are all West Africans, the mentality can be more similar and so on. We have nothing in common with America.
I mean, people have said anytime the Republicans win, the NPP wins. When the Democrats win, the NDC wins, and a whole lot. People have always drawn those comparisons, and said because Donald Trump has come back, the second time, it is very possible for GM to come back. I'm sure you've heard all of this.
I have heard that. I mean, I am amused by them. It's all part of the political game. I'm amused by them. I don't take them seriously. Otherwise, I can tell you that the elephant has won in America. So in that case, the elephant will win in Ghana because the symbol of the Republicans is the elephant. But I don't take stock. Look, in 2020, who won in America? The Democrats.
Yes.
Who won in Ghana? The NPP. You see, just in 2002, the last elections. So there was something, I don't know if I have it here, just to show you how amusing this whole thing can be. I have Asiedu Nketia. In 2020, November, when Trump lost the elections and the Democrats won, Joe Biden. This is what Asiedu Nketia said. I saw it somewhere, and I'm happy I have it. This is about the election that took place in the USA, and the information reaching us indicate that Joe Biden has won the election as the 46th president. According to the General Secretary of the NDC, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, a.k.a. General Mosquito, has spoken concerning the sweet victory for the NDC to win the 2020 election due to Joe Biden's victory as president. This victory by Joe Biden is a great sign for the NDC flag bearer, John Mahama, former president, who will surely win the elections for 2020. When the General Secretary was speaking, he emphasized that since 1992, anytime America has an election, at the end of the election, the victory is if the victory is on the side of the Democrat, then it will always be a victory for the NDC. This is a beautiful sign, and the NDC is very delighted since Joe Biden has won. There is a link between the Democrats and the NDC, which is so wonderful or special. So Ghanaians should sleep and keep calm, as the Americans have seen the great work or performance being done by Joe Biden, just as Ghanaians have also seen the great work. So basically, when Joe Biden won in November 2020, the NDC said that they were Democrats. They and the Democratic Party are aligned, and so once the Democratic Party has won, they would also win in Ghana. So today, why are they saying they are Republicans?
Did they say they are Republicans?
But they are saying they will win.
Well, they said Donald Trump has won.
Yes.
And he was a one-term president, and he has come back.
In 2020...
So because of that, John Mahama can also come back.
But you cannot be saying two things for the same matter. You have to be... In 2020, you said that once the Democrats have won, and the Democrats, they are social, a bit left of center.
Yeah.
Once the Democrats win, the NDC wins. And the Democrats had won in 2020. But the NDC didn't win. And now, 4 years later, Republicans have won. Now you say that you are Republicans. So which is which? That's why I say that I get amused by them.
All right.
But people can go on their own front.
All right. Let's move on.
But at the end of the day, there's no relationship between the Ghanaian electorate, the makeup of the Ghanaian electorate, the issues that, they're so different from the American issues.
All right, let's move a bit away from that, and let me get a reaction from you on this very latest Supreme Court ruling. You know that Parliament has been characterized by what a lot of people will say is chaos, because there are some 4 seats that were declared vacant. You've been in Parliament before. You know how it works. The seats were declared vacant. The majority leader went to court. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of, recalling parliaments being adjourned, the Speaker's press conference and all of that. Finally, the Supreme Court seemingly has brought some finality to the matter in a 5-2 majority decision. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the controversy was totally needless, And when you look at the actors, these are people who we all look up to, that they are the leading lights in society. And so they should know better what the law is. So it's disappointing when you look at the caliber of the people who plunged us into this controversy. And when I say caliber, you are talking of members of parliament, you are talking of the Speaker of Parliament, getting the country involved in this totally needless controversy. We all know, you don't have to go to law school. We all know that when there is controversy or different misunderstanding about any provision in the Constitution, we have in our constitutional setup a body that pronounces, isn't it? We all know, we don't have to go to law school to know that when it comes to interpretation of the Constitution, that work is reserved for the Supreme Court. There was a matter of the Speaker declaring a vacancy. People said, we disagree with the Speaker's interpretation of the Constitution. If you disagree, where do you go? The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, stay any decision because the matter is before us. What is easier and clearer than this? So you stay your decision. The decision that the 4 seats are vacant. You hold it. That's all. So things will continue normally. And then the Supreme Court gives its final ruling. If the Supreme Court's ruling is that, yes, those 4 seats are vacant, the changes are made. Everybody goes along, the changes are made. If the Supreme Court says, no, those 4 seats are not vacant, the status quo remained. So when the Supreme Court said, stay the execution of that ruling, all Speaker Bagbin and the Parliament had to do was to go back to the situation as it was. What was the difficulty?
Well, I mean, he went to Parliament, and the NPP side didn't show up in Parliament at the last, adjournment.
Because the
reason he gave is that the NPP was not there.
The NPP side, their seats had been occupied by the NDC people. Their name tags. When I came into this studio, if this seat was occupied, how was I going to sit to talk to you?
But the other side was empty, and if they really wanted to do government business, it wouldn't have mattered because the Speaker had already acknowledged that there's a Supreme Court directive that it should stay the decision, and so they could have still done business.
Which is easier, for everybody to sit in their seats, or people going to sit in other people's seats, and then the other people whose seats have been occupied now must go and look for seats. Which is easier? The easier thing is for everybody to go and sit where your name tag is. Why would you go and sit in other people's seats with their name tags? And they said now they should go and find some other places to sit. So they will end up sitting in places with other people's name tags. Why? Are we in class 2 or class 1? That's what I'm saying. That controversy was totally needless. Totally needless.
So what are your expectations now that the Supreme Court has?
Well, I must congratulate the Supreme Court for ruling quickly on the matter. And I expect that the judgment is now the law and it will be obeyed and Parliament will go back and do its work.
What do you say to those who say the Supreme Court is being biased or being an appendage of the government? And this was expected. And they are very predictable. And they now juxtapose it to a recent Mo Ibrahim report, which says that confidence in the judiciary in Ghana has reduced significantly.
Confidence in the judiciary has always been low. I mean, you remember the Anas expose. What year was it? Confidence in the judiciary has always been low because people don't feel that justice is available to them. Ordinary people don't feel because of the court processes, where a simple case can take 2 years. That's why people don't have confidence in the judiciary. So we should work at it and have a process where justice can be delivered more quickly. Because justice delayed is justice denied. And so because of this, people who don't have confidence in the judiciary. But you see, recently the courts gave a judgment in the matter of the minority leader.
Yes. Court of Appeal.
It was accepted, isn't it? The same courts. So when the court gives a judgment that you don't like, you say the court is biased. But when they give a judgment that you like, you hail the court. Now, where did this whole business start? After the petition in 2021, when John Mahama gave a nickname to the Supreme Court. He said something. Unanimous Football Club.
Unanimous FC.
Unanimous FC. And what was the problem? The petition. The 2021 Supreme Court judgment on John Mahama's petition, isn't it? After that judgment, he called them Unanimous FC. But you and I know that case, the petition, Asedun Ketia himself has told us that they didn't have any evidence, that they rather went to the courts to go and look for evidence in the courtroom. A whole political party, Asedun Ketia, John Mahama, all of them, they could not collate results. And to appease their supporters for this terrible negligence, they went to the court. You go to the court without evidence. Chief, how is the court supposed to rule? I mean, as you sit here, I'm sure you have staff who work with you. If one staff comes to you with a complaint that the other staff has done ABC, and you ask them, where is the evidence? They say, I don't have any evidence. How are you supposed to judge?
So it was unnecessary for the court to be described as
you went to court. You went to court. They ask you in open court, where is your evidence? You said, I haven't brought any evidence. Really? And they say, so how do you, what are we supposed to judge the matter?
Well, they wanted to cross-examine the EC chairperson.
That's your evidence.
But the courts didn't allow them to.
No, but
perhaps
that
if they had cross-examined the EC chairperson, it would have afforded them the chance to really bring out a lot of the discrepancies that they believe characterize the elections.
But okay, even if discrepancies, present the discrepancies. That we have come here because the electoral commissioner on this day said this. She declared this result. The next hour, she declared this result.
And that actually happened.
So present that evidence. That's what I'm saying. Present that evidence. Then she will be called upon to say, they said you said this on Monday, and you said this on Tuesday, and you said this on Wednesday. How do you explain? Even that, they couldn't present it to the court. All they said was that you bring her, then we'll get the evidence. But normally, when you want to challenge an election, you go with, because everybody has the pink sheets. You couldn't collect the pink sheets.
So you believe that it's because decisions don't go in the favor of the NDC. That is why they describe the Supreme Court as unanimous FC.
I'm saying this whole thing about the Supreme Court being biased started mainly with the petition. And what was the case of the petition? You went to court without evidence. It's not me, Mr. Lantam. It's not me saying it. It's the current chairman of the NDC. He told the whole country that the evidence that he had was bogus.
Right.
He told the whole country.
Okay. So in all of this, what would you say
you get a court ruling in the case of the minority leader. That one, the court is not biased.
So what do you say to those who say in all of this, the MPP is being very hypocritical because when it suited you, you didn't see any need to go to court. When Andrea Siame's seat was declared vacant, before the 7th Parliament ended. But in this particular instance, because it's going to affect your numbers in Parliament, then you know that you have to go to court and seek a proper interpretation of, Article 97. That is hypocritical of the
Mr.
MPP.
Lantam, our constitutional arrangement provides for settlement of disputes. Provides for a settlement of disputes. What it says is that when there are misunderstandings and disputes, go to the Supreme Court. If in Esiama's case, he didn't see the reason to go to court. Because in Esiama's time, there were members of the NDC who opposed what the speaker at that time had ruled and were urging Esiama to go to court. You know it. There were people like, people in the NDC who were urging Esiama to go to court to challenge Speaker Okwe's ruling. Esiama decided it's close to the elections. I know I'm going to get my seat back. So he didn't go to court.
Okay.
But it doesn't foreclose anybody else who believes that the interpretation is wrong from going to court. Okay. In fact, it's better than going to do riots and demonstrations and so on. It's a civilized way of settling disputes. So we should rather be applauded for taking that route.
All right. Let's now talk about the campaign. Let's get into the issues about the campaign. Is there any reason why the flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia, is spending up to 14 days in the Ashanti region? Is there any specific reason why?
The Ashanti region is the biggest stronghold of the NPP. And if we can maximize our votes in the Ashanti region, if we can get upwards of 74, 75% of the votes in Ashanti region, we've won the elections. So it's very understandable that anybody who wants to win on the NPP ticket will pay a lot of attention to turn out the vote in their stronghold.
I mean, if all is well, because some say, well, all is not necessarily well in the Ashanti region. That is why extra effort needs to be put in, in the Ashanti region. Because if it's your stronghold, you shouldn't worry too much about
it's your stronghold.
Doing a lot of work there.
It's your stronghold. But it's like saying the NDC should not campaign in the Volta region. They will still campaign in the Volta region, stronghold, because you want to because this is where you can maximize your votes. You understand? The people are already, they have a certain reception to the party and to the message. And so you don't want them to feel that you've taken them for granted. So that is where you should even campaign more, because that is where you can harvest a lot of votes. So you would get your 70, 71, 72%. You want to get 75, 76.
What's the target?
Sorry?
What's the target?
75.
75, that's the target for the NPP.
Yes. And if we get 75, 76 in Ashanti, like we did in 2016, we won the elections.
How are people receiving the campaign in the Ashanti region since Dr. Bawumia has been there? How are they receiving the campaign?
I could send you some of the footage. I mean, constituency after constituency, they are competing in the attendance to the rallies and the meetings. I mean, you tell them you go to Asokwa, and the other people tell you what will beat Asokwa. And so by the time they're going to their constituency, they're going to mobilize to show a bigger crowd. I mean, it's amazing. And I have all the footage. I'll send them to you when you have time. You can watch or maybe show on your network. But, I mean, look, what is the message? The biggest problem we have today is the economy. And when I talk about the economy, I'm talking about the macro economy.
Yes.
The city, the strength of the city, interest rates, inflation. These are the things that affect your business, and they affect my business. They affect every business. Because the economy, really, the store of value is the dollar. So anytime the price of the dollar goes up, costs go up across the economy, isn't it? This is the bigger interest rates go up and all of that. The macro economy. What is the message of the NDC? They have no message.
But what's the message of the NPP with regard to the macro economy?
Because
they say you are in government.
Give me
Dr. Bawumia is head of economic management team. The macro economy is not looking very good. People are complaining about economic hardship. So the focus should be there.
Yes.
So what is the solution from the NPP as far as the economy is concerned?
You would agree. Every Ghanaian would agree that in the first 3 years, 2017 to 2019, the macro economy was one of the best we've had in the Fourth Republic. Indeed, in the world, the Ghanaian growth rates between 2017 and 2019 were some of the best in the whole world.
I mean, people say it was projected. I mean, it was already projected. The economy was already projected to grow. The NDC had taken us into an IMF program, and so it was, the remnants and, the effects of the IMF program that you even extended that contributed to all of that.
So the NDC is saying that even when they were in government,
yes,
they couldn't achieve those growth rates.
Oh, they went to the IMF.
But when they left government, they went to the IMF 2 years before they left power.
Yeah.
2 years.
And you came and extended it.
I'm saying they went to the IMF in 2015. 2 full years before they left power.
Yeah.
Now, they are saying that when they were in office, they couldn't achieve those growth rates. But when they left office, then they were now achieving. I mean, it's
I mean, because they went to the IMF.
But you see,
and the IMF programs projected that growth. And so you shouldn't take all the credit for those figures you saw when you came in 2017.
We should give it to the IMF. Is that what the NDC
You should give it to them. Yes.
You know, the NDC should be humble because they are GHOne Mahama is the only president who was not given a second term in the whole Fourth Republic. And the Ghanaian electorate are not fools. So if you are the only president, they didn't give you a second term. That says a lot about your performance. And you had the longest first year term, 4.5 years. So you had the longest time to show what you can do. 4.5 years. No first term president got 4.5 years. Everybody got 4 years. So you had the longest time, and you were the only one who was rejected. So it shows that really your performance, you know, you shouldn't be talking about your performance at all.
Was the performance of Dr. Bawumia and
you see, so I'm saying that
better?
I'm saying that in the first 3 years, when there was no COVID, the performance of the Ghanaian economy under the NPP was some of the best performance in the whole world, not just Africa. You know, growth rates of 8%, 6.2, 6.5. They were some of the best in the whole world. 2020, 2021, 2022, COVID came. Everybody suffered, including Ghana. But as we speak, we are coming back. The measures that have been put into place, they are bearing fruits. The cedi, the interest rates, inflation, the deficit, the debt to GDP, they are all coming down, which shows that we are coming out of the difficulty.
So is all the blame on COVID? Is all the blame of what is happening in the economy, is it all on COVID?
Look, we have been in this country that GHOne Mahama...
Is it all on COVID?
We have been in this country that GHOne Mahama,
yes,
where there was no COVID. There was no international war. And yet we still went to the IMF in 2015. So we should not scoff at the effects of COVID. And if the effects were just in Ghana, you can say that, well, maybe, but it's all over the world.
But it's a lot of grants, a lot of loans, a lot of money came to the government in excess of 1 billion because of COVID. And so we should not be in this situation.
No, but
it's been attributed to a lot of mismanagement on the part of the government, not being able to handle things well, and the COVID just exacerbated the situation.
Okay, 2 things.
And not necessarily that because of COVID is where we went, where there was mismanagement.
Have you heard GHOne Mahama in Harvard? You have his speech. Do you have his speech? It's unfortunate I didn't bring it.
I don't have the speech.
Oh, I'll send it to you. He was speaking at an international platform and was talking about the effects of COVID in Africa.
Yeah.
You would think it's Bawumia who's speaking. But when they come to Ghana, they change their tone. You know. But I've told you that we agree there are difficulties. What is the Ghanaian electorate looking for? They are looking for a way out of the difficulty.
Yeah.
That's what they are looking for.
Does Dr. Bawumia provide a way out?
Between the two of them, I'm saying this is the NDC manifesto. This is what they say on the macroeconomy. They said, resetting the economy.
Yes.
This is it. They said that in the first 120 days, we will hold a national economic dialogue to draw up a 4-year fiscal consolidation program. What they are saying to you is that when you vote for them, they are now going to hold a national conference to draw up an economic recovery program. This is what they are saying. It's not me saying it.
Is there anything wrong with that?
So it
All
means
hands on deck.
It means they don't know what to do.
What will Bawumia do?
Bawumia is saying the cedi, this thing that the NDC say they are now going to hold a dialogue in 120 days. Bawumia is saying this fiscal consolidation that the NDC has written, it says we'll cut down government expenditure because you want to get, is the fiscal imbalance, what they call the deficit.
The NDC has promised the same.
No, they said they are not going to hold
that's one of the things, but you go into their manifesto.
But Bawumia is saying, one, I'll cut 3% of government expenditure. which will be about 30 billion cedis of government expenditure. A lot of the things that government do that are commercially viable, we have to give it to the private sector. So, trunk roads, roads that have heavy vehicular traffic, that can be towed profitably. Put in place a PPP concession arrangement so private sector can take it. If you put in place the correct PPP arrangement, the correct concession arrangement, private sector people can take up Accra to Kumasi and give you a 6-lane and toll it, whether it's 50 cedis, whether it's 100 cedis. You know, we'll show you a program to recover their money in 5 years or 10 years. This is given the number of vehicles and so on. I mean, you put in place the PPP program. Look, University of Ghana and many of the public universities, they are now able to quadruple their intake because they put in place a PPP that allowed private people to provide accommodation. So now if you went to Legon, the premier university, the private accommodation facilities are bigger than the public ones. When I was at Legon, where it was just Ikwafu Hall, Legon Hall, Commonwealth, Volta, and so on, the population was about 6,000, 7,000. Today it's about 40,000. Why? Because they put in place a PPP that allowed private people to put in. We can do the same for the roads that are commercially viable. And that's what they do. In America, you travel every 50 kilometers, there's a toll. That's what they used to get private people to invest. Bawumia says that's what I'm going to do. So that's on the spending side.
Yes.
I'm also going to raise the revenue. I'm not now going to hold a conference. This is my plan. There's those of people like you and me who pay direct taxes. We are just about 4 million because we are in formal employment and can be identified. The Ghana card, 17 million Ghanaians have the Ghana card. It allows us to identify the 13 or so million people who do not pay direct taxes. So the combination of the Ghana card, the GPS address, and the Momo interoperability. Now, 17 million people have addresses, they have a digital identity, and they have bank accounts through the Momo.
Yeah.
It allows you now to identify them and put in place a simple tax system for them. Maybe 50 cedis a month. So out of these 14 million people who are not in the direct tax bracket, if you take 3 million to be students, people who are 18 but still at secondary school or university, you are going to look at another 9 to 10 million who are doing all kinds of work in the informal sector, but who do not fall into the direct tax bracket. But with the identity provided by the Ghana card and the GPS and the bank accounts provided by interoperability, you can now identify all these plumbers, masons, electricians, you know, who come and work and get some money to come into the bracket. Don't do any complex thing for them. Just flat rate, 50 cedis a month that they can pay on their phones and get the receipt on their phones to show that they also have a tax profile. And the Ghana card allows them now to have tax number, because your Ghana card is also your tax number, which you know. So every month, you put this in place, every month you are going to get about 8 to 9 to 10 million people paying some 50 cedis a month, in addition to what you and I pay directly. And that would expand the revenue. You see, this is practical measure that you can take to a stakeholders conference and get a buy-in and start implementing. These people, they don't have anything. They say we are not going to hold a meeting over 120 days.
All right.
To decide what to do.
Right. And on that, this
is the message.
This is
the message that Bawumia is taking to the people.
Okay. A few questions on that, and I'll come to you on that. But we'll have to quickly do a commercial break and come back and continue. And I'm being told that we have to do a few birthday wishes, but reminding you that we're still engaging in our conversation here on GH Today, on GH1 television. And in the studio with me this morning is the Venerable Nana Akomea, who is the Vice Chairman of the Bawumia Campaign Team. And he's been talking about, the message that Alhaji Dr. Mahmood Bawumia is taking to the electorate everywhere he goes to meet them. He talks about what they will do to formalize the economy, bring people into the tax net, tolling of roads and all of that. But Nana, one would ask, all of these things that Dr. Bawumia is talking about, he's head of the economic management team now. These are things he could have influenced to easily get done. You remember Dr. Bawumia, even before he became vice president, talking about, we don't need to go and get money from anywhere. We just need to toll all the roads in the country and we get all the money to do all the roads in the country, and all of that. He said these things before. And then he's in office as vice president, as head of the economic management team. All of these things were not done. And he's now promising that he's going to do all of these. How can we trust him to deliver on them?
You see,
why can't he influence them to be done now? When
you are a vice president, you do not call the shots. Look, the NDC in 2016, they told Ghanaians in the north, when they were campaigning, they said that if you voted for NPP, Bawumia will be a mate. If you took your issues to him, he will go to Akufo-Addo. If Akufo-Addo doesn't agree, your issues will get nowhere. This is what the NDC campaigned on in the north in 2016. And they said that if you vote for the NDC, John Mahama, he is the driver. He's not a mate. If you vote for the NDC, you get a driver. If you vote for the NPP, you get a mate. John Mahama himself, when he succeeded President Mills, after President Mills' untimely demise, when he succeeded President Mills and he was president, how did he describe himself? He said he was a spare. He was a spare. And that when we vote for him, then he would be his own president. So even when the man was president and serving the last 6 months of President Mills' term, he said he was a spare president. So, and Mills, President Mills, when he was he and the NDC were campaigning in 2020, I was going to look for what Mills said when he was asked this same question that you asked, but that you are vice president. He said that, look, as vice president, he's only an advisor. He's not the man in the seat. And that even then, he's managed to do a few things. We talked about Winneba University and all of that. But he said that essentially, and he used a fancy term, I don't know if I have it. He said that ahini wahwa, a something, yes. Mills, and the NDC, 2000, when they were campaigning, Mills was a sitting vice president. He said that when there's a chief, the Jasihini cannot act as chief. I don't know if you remember. I have the footage. I'll send it to you. He said it is the president who directs and takes executive decisions. The vice president is only advisory. But even as vice, I have achieved a lot. He then went to talk about Winneba water, because I was speaking to the people at Winneba. And
so it's the same justification for Dr. Bawumia?
No, I'm saying that
the same justification for Dr. Bawumia?
When you are vice,
yes,
you are not the person who is taking the decisions.
But the one taking the decision told all Ghanaians that this is the man I'm putting in charge of the economy. I brought him because of the economy. I'm making him the head of the economic management team. He's the economic wizard. He's going to help me run the economy. And that is the reason why I've brought him. So I've put him in charge. The same man told every Ghanaian that. And you remember the same vice president talking about what a solid economic management team, and we are going to do this and all of that. Clearly indicating to Ghanaians that we are in charge of managing the economy. So why should we not put it on his doorstep?
I, as communications director, I communicated a lot of the promises of the NPP. Contained in our manifesto.
So
if the NPP is not able to fulfill those promises, are you coming to hold Nana Akomea?
Well, I'll ask you some questions
because
about it.
he communicated them.
But I'll ask you questions about it.
He wasn't communicated he was communicating the NPP's vision. So, and you would agree that Bawumia himself has expressed certain policies which the government has gone against. You talk about tolling.
Yes.
The government went against it.
Exactly.
And closed the tolls. He talked about not taxing Momo. Because Bawumia's vision is that we have to go off cash so that when you are buying Kofi Brookman at East Legon or you are buying Wache at Nima, you can pay on your phone, like it's happening all over the world. And to do that, to be able to get the Kofi Brookman woman or the Wache woman to accept, you can't impose. So if you want a cashless economy, you can't be taxing Momo. But his own government went against it and imposed Momo.
But when that issue was raised, when that issue was raised, we were told that he was part of, making that decision.
Of course, when you sit in
he said Dr. Bawumia was instrumental. I remember GHOne talking about Dr. Bawumia being instrumental in, putting together the e-levy.
I'm sure you are part of Bolare's management here, or you are not?
I'm not part of management. I'm an employee.
You are an employee?
Yes.
Okay. But assuming you are part of, Bolare says that the work that you are doing, I like it so much, I like it to be part of management. And you join management, and there's a management meeting, and you make a proposal, and other people disagree. Are you coming out to say that when we went to the management meeting, I disagreed with Bolare or the other members? No. Once the decision is taken in cabinet, it becomes a collective decision. That is what we call team player. You can put up your viewpoint and argue it out. Other people will listen. They also put up their viewpoint, argue it out. At the end of the day, there are about 30 ministers sitting there, including the president. They take a decision, and you are bound by it. You are not now coming out. But publicly, for us, fortunately for us, before those things, Bawumia had given us the benefit of his thinking. He had said publicly that he would be against imposing a levy on Momo.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Yeah, but
so obviously.
But it happened.
And he had told you.
So aren't people right to ask questions
and he has also told you that when you vote for him, he will take it out. That clearly shows that he doesn't call the shots in this government. He said, when you vote for me, I'll take it out.
So is it that the president doesn't listen? The president is not amenable to some of these things that the head of his economic management team says will rather help the economy.
No president listens to one person. Even you.
But at least his vice president and head of his economic management team should have a certain level of influence that others don't.
I'm saying even you. Do you take advice from one person? You don't. So even in your own, say, up and down, you don't take advice from one person. Then issues of national importance. The president is going to listen to the clergy. He's going to listen to his cabinet. He's going to listen to his kitchen. Everybody has a kitchen cabinet. He's going to listen to his... And so that the kitchen cabinet... Don't you hear some friend of mine being referred to as prime minister? Why do you call him prime minister? He's going to listen to the clergy. He's going to listen to chiefs. He's going to listen to imams. He's going to listen to his cabinet. He's going to listen to his friends. He's going to listen to his kitchen cabinet. He's going to listen to his wife. I mean, the president is open to all kinds of advice. He's not bound to advice from one person. Okay. And he will then take the decision. That's it. But I've told you that at the NDC, even when Mahama was fulfilling the last 6 months, he said he was a spare. At the presidential debate in Accra, he said he was a spare. And he was asking Ghanaians to give him the seat so he can come into his own presidency.
So-
Even when the man was president.
So with that, Dr. Bawumia
So
also
how
saying
can-
that he's a driver's
how-
mate
how ca-
and they should give the steer to him. There's nothing wrong
Yes,
with it.
because he doesn't dictate the direction of the vehicle, whether we go left, we go right, or we go straight.
So should people not be putting the blame people should not be putting the blame at the doorstep of Dr. Bawumia as far as the economy is concerned. Even though he's been at the helm, because people also refer him to when he was doing all of those lectures, prior to the the elections about the economy and the indicators, and when the exchange rate is weak. I mean, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. It was 4 cedis to $1 then, today 17 cedis and all of that. And you have come and you've not really been able to the dollar is running, prices are skyrocketing and all of that. So it comes back to, the question that I asked you earlier, taking all of this into account, that how do we trust you to deliver?
I have mentioned to you,
Yes.
and you agree, that in the period before COVID,
Yeah.
the performance of the Ghanaian economy, whether under Bawumia or under anybody, was one of the best in the world. And that the difficulties came when COVID came in 2020. Look, your company here, what is it called?
The EIB network.
EIB network. Look at the difficulties you went through with COVID. Look at the difficulties. I'm sure you had problems with paying salaries. I'm sure you laid people off because your advertisers were not coming. And even if they came, they were not paying. Now, this is one company, EIB. I have a company. I work at STC. We had the same problem. Our main cost is spare parts and fuel. When, because of the COVID situation and the CD situation, fuel went up to 23 cedis a gallon, a liter, I didn't have a business because my revenue was the same. I couldn't increase my revenue anyhow I wanted. And so between 2017 and 2019, fuel was 26% of my cost. Between 2021 and 2023, fuel was 58% of my cost. One company, EIB, multiplied by the thousands of companies. That is what COVID did to us. So if you want to even ascribe blame, we can talk about where the blame should come from. But you see, if somebody is vice president and you say that the vice president can be blamed, how about the other person who was president? Huh? If between the two of them, between John Mahama and Bawumia, you want to lay blame for performance, one was president. The performance was bad. That's why he was removed. That's why he was only president, wasn't given a second term. One is vice president. So if we are blaming, we are going to lay blame game between somebody who was president and somebody who is vice president. Who should be blamed? And then you have the situation where we are looking for a way out of the current situation. Bawumia has told you clearly what he will do to hold the value of the city. Hasn't he told you? He had said that beyond the usual things, the aggressive exports and all, and the industrialization and all of that, he says that we have to anchor the city with gold. Since you left school, have you heard this idea from any politician in this country? Because gold is currency. Gold is money. And we produce the gold here. It has never occurred to us that we can actually use the gold to hold the value of the city. Recently, one of these big companies, they had billions of cedis and they wanted to change into dollar so they could go and pay their shareholders abroad and to pay their suppliers abroad. They had over 3 billion cedis. They went to government first to see how much government can give them. And government said, we'll give you gold. They agreed, they accepted it, and they were paid gold to the value of 3.2 billion cedis.
Right.
Can you imagine if they had brought all this 3.2 billion on the market to buy dollar? What will happen to the value of the cedi? So you go to some of these countries where the currency is robust. You go to the UK, they have about 4,000 tons of gold sitting in the Bank of England. You go to Germany, they have nearly 5,000 tons. America has over 10,000 tons of gold. We produce the gold. We had 8 tons. When we started this gold purchase program, now we've got about 27. But the idea of using gold to hold a currency, Bawumia, this is the unique selling point that is offering, as against the NDC, who say they are now going to hold a 120-day meeting to decide what to do.
Right.
He says, you take their manifesto, they said they will rationalize taxes. What is that? Bawumia has said, I will do a flat rate system. Everybody will pay a flat rate. So all of this VAT, then you do this, then you do e-levy, then you do this, then this cascading thing would all go. You just have a simplified flat rate. What is the NDC telling us? They said they will rationalize. How will they rationalize? They said they will rationalize port duties. How are they going to do it? They haven't told us. Bawumia says, I will put a flat rate at the ports. So if you are bringing a container of the same goods, spare engines, you pay a flat rate. If you are bringing a container of brake pads, you pay a flat rate. If you are bringing a container of used clothes, you pay a flat rate. He's told you how he's going to do it, the practical steps. The NDC says we will rationalize port duties. What does that mean? This is what they have offered. Nothing practical.
So you believe Dr. Bawumia presents a better option and a better solution because it is better articulated.
Look, let me finish on the cost of living.
Okay, just
NDC,
finish on that.
They will tell you.
We'll have to.
They will tell you 24.
We have just a little more time.
They will tell you
up.
24 hours. You've heard that. Depending on who you speak to, the explanation is different. But how is 24-hour economy going to bring down the cost of electricity, the cost of transport, the cost of housing, the cost of food? Bawumia has said, I'll bring down the cost of electricity by bringing on board 2,000 megawatts of solar power. It will mean putting up 5 million, what do you call it, the thing that receives the solar, the panels. It will mean, and we're going to set up a factory. We're going to send people to Germany and so on to train. We'll set up a factory here that will produce the panels. We'll install 5 million panels. That will give us 2,000 megawatts of electricity. That will bring down the cost of electricity. For housing, he says, look, the major cost of housing is the land and the litigation, the people you have to pay, and then putting in the utilities. Government will get the land banks all across the country, and government to put in the roads and and so on. So you, the builder, you, the developer, you just have to go in and build. And that will increase the supply of housing, and that will bring down the cost of housing. How's it going to bring down the cost of transport? He says, we're going to bring electric vehicles, buses, and give credit for people to now buy electric vehicles. So spare parts for engine is out, cost of fuel is out, because these are just batteries. And that will bring down the cost of, and I'm going to do bus lanes.
Right.
In the rush hour, you see people standing by the roadside looking for car, and the trotros and buses are stuck in traffic. He says, I'm going to bring bus lanes for the rush hour, so the buses and the trotros can reach the people quickly. The NDC has nothing. He's not been saying it. This is it.
Anyway, we'll have to be wrapping up now.
When Bawumia takes this message to the people down there, that is why he's getting the kind of
You think
reaction.
it resonates? All right. It looks like recently, and then let me ask you this before I wrap it up. A lot of the NPP's campaign is also beginning to pivot towards the free SHS policy. We're seeing that come up a lot now.
Oh, even the
It's tilting because we weren't hearing too much about the free SHS policy, but now we're really beginning to hear, all the NPP communication and campaigning, a lot about, even in the adverts that are run, So it's all about the free SHS policy.
Chief.
Is that your trump card? Is the free SHS policy your trump card for this election?
Even the NDC, after what they did to the free SHS concept, there was a time they even said that Akufo-Addo, there might be something because everything he says free. Even the NDC, they are campaigning on free SHS. I lie. Even the NDC, they are campaigning on free SHS. In fact, they are even telling Ghanaians that they brought it. You haven't heard? You've heard?
Well, they said they will improve it.
No, but they said they brought it. No, they said
SHS
they
policy.
said they brought it.
Yeah, they said they piloted it. They started the free SHS policy.
Yes.
Progressively free SHS.
Yes. The thing that you are opposed to, that you said that if you would not introduce it on the whims of a desperate politician. Now you brought it. Now you would improve it. So even NDC, they are campaigning on free SHS. What it means is that it is one policy that resonates with the Ghanaian people. That's all.
So when you look at all the polls that have come out, from Global Info Analytics and all of that, which, puts Dr. Bawumia at around 40%, puts John Mahama at around, 50%, and then, the others. Does it scare, the campaign, and especially with the recent Afrobarometer reports, which also people believe that about 80% of people believe that the country is going in the wrong direction, that the economy has not been managed well, among other things. Does it send shivers down the spine of the Dr. Bawumia campaign?
Just two or three responses. Number one, this is not a Bawumia government. This is not a Bawumia government. Akufo-Addo is not on the ballot. So this Afrobarometer thing that you are saying is all well and nice. In John Mahama's time, the Afrobarometer was the same. He was the president. It was his government. This Afrobarometer, it has nothing to do with a Bawumia government, because there's nothing like a Bawumia
But he's in government. He's part of the government.
Yes,
he's the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration.
Yes, but he is not. This is not a Bawumia government. That's fundamental. Number two, this polls, I can tell you, take it from me. Some of these people running around and saying they are doing credible polls, some of them, they came to NPP to fund them. We said no. But you see,
who came to NPP? Which ones?
I'm saying take
Which
it
ones
from me.
came?
No, I won't mention names. But
Well, we need to know because it borders on credibility.
They came
so
to
which
NPP.
Which ones came to NPP?
I would not mention the names now, but I can tell you for a fact that some of them, they came looking for funding. So I am worried about some of these polls that come. But you see, for a party like the NPP, and I suppose the NDC, a party worth its salt, you have your own polling. We, NPP, we have our own in-house polling.
And what's the polling saying?
That gives us perceptions and the changes in perceptions on a monthly basis.
So what are those polls telling you? Is it telling you that Dr. Bawumia is winning?
They are telling us a different story.
Because we heard there was a poll from the presidency which says that the elections will go into a runoff.
Okay. A runoff is not a loss for Bawumia.
No, it is not. But does it mean Bawumia is doing exceedingly well? It doesn't predict a one-touch victory for Dr. Bawumia.
I am saying to you that this internal poll that I'm even talking about is not announced. It's for our own internal consumption.
Is it a positive poll?
It's not negative. It's not negative. So, but let me tell you our general attitude to polls. Anybody who does a poll and tell us we are not doing well, what does it do? It encourages this. Hey, we are behind. We need to double our steps. If the polls tell us that we are doing well, what does it do? You say, oh, Charlie, they say we are winning, so let's make sure nobody overtakes us. So for us in NPP, no matter the polls, it encourages us.
Very well, Nana Akomea. We'll have to end it here. I'm grateful that you joined us in the studio today.
It's my pleasure.
We've had an extended conversation beyond the time that
we should do it again. This is hard talk.
Yes.
The talk is really hard.
Thank you very much, Nana Akomea. I've just spoken to Nana Akomea, of course, who is a part of Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign team. In fact, he's vice chairman of the Bawumia Campaign Team, speaking to us here on GH Today. And that will do it for Hard Talk.